Now, from the studios of 106.7 My Talker Radio, the man, the legend, the one who just drives you crazy, Curtis Wright, on the beat.
Hour number 2, and we are back here live on the beat on the new 106.7 FM My Talker Radio. You have heard me over the years tell the story of myself and my wife coming here over 20 years now ago to this wonderful place called Wilmington in southeastern North Carolina. At that time, my businesses had already moved to Texas, and we left a little bit in California, but we were looking to bring our children to, as we said, a place where they could grow up like we grew up. They could ride their bikes, they could enjoy the beach, they could enjoy a much safer environment. And we came to southeastern North Carolina, as thousands and thousands have, to take a look. And that gateway for us, that first impression, was in fact the Wilmington International Airport, ILM. It was from that moment on, and it was because of the airport, because I knew that still I had a good year or year and a half of flying back and forth to Texas and Los Angeles for my business, that from that point on it was, holy smokes, look at this place. And it was that first impression that set in our mind a seriousness of looking at Wilmington, and in fact it was 24 to 48 hours later we bought a home, and then in just a couple months from that we moved here. And that my story is not unlike thousands of others, whether people here come to retire or business people that said, look at this resource. It's been quite a while, far too long, since I had my next guest in studio. And if it weren't for his vision and those who he's inspired that work for him and the organization that's put together, and I sincerely mean this, his vision and his hard work, he's the cheerleader for ILM all these years. And he works tirelessly to keep it alive, and not only that, but to keep it thriving and growing. And that's Jon Rosborough. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Curtis. Thank you for that nice introduction. And you are. Thank you. You're that cheerleader. You know, it's been years that you've been on the show now. I shouldn't be saying that because everything seems like years these days for us. And I know your time is coming to an end, which we all hope that vision and all of that you've put into this all these years. I mean, people who are consumers just concern themselves with price, availability, and we're going to talk about all that. But for this particular operation, they have no clue, you and I both know that, what it has taken to keep this thing alive and keep it thriving and even, you know, just responsive in an ever-changing environment and an ever-changing industry.
That is exactly right. It is ever-changing, and the challenges just get greater. But I look at that as opportunities for us to grow even further.
The one thing that, you know, you have always taught me about the regional airport is the challenge, as you say, is you know, getting a certain level of service or scope of service, if you will, from certain airlines. And how does that work in this world where cost has just been such, and the economy has been such a terrible burden on airlines trying to figure out the future? Well, it all rolls downhill. And it hits you all because that's who they come to visit and say, we need something more from you. But talk to us. Where is our service level now, our providers, and how are we doing on that? Because I know you've worked really hard on flights. Some have gone away, some have returned, some are still expanding.
Yes, we have a comprehensive air service development program where we go out and take a look at our top destinations, and that is directed by our customers, where they travel to. And then we make a concerted effort in which to go out there and secure nonstop service to those top 10 destinations. And we're very fortunate both domestically and for people that want to travel internationally with the service that we have. Now, we have 3 airlines. We have American, we have Delta, and U.S. Air. Now, as you probably know, American and U.S. Air are coming together as one entity, which I think that's going to be good, not only for them, but also for our community in the state of North Carolina. And we have nonstop destinations, 5 now, into key cities that are also open for international travel. And that is huge for our business travelers. As I've told you over the years, close to 70% of our traffic is business and 30% is leisure. So when you get the PPDs and the Cornings and the GEs, just to mention a few, that came to this community, and one of the key factors they keep telling me was because of the airport. They have access globally to the world, which makes their business thrive. So we've been somewhat very successful, I think, with the team that I have and with the airport that we have. And the airlines, you're competing. There's 450 airports, commercial airports in this country. And 200 of those 450 supply or take care of 97% of the passengers. The other 250 represent 3. Fortunately, we're in that top 200, and so we're a very good airport. They're a good revenue generator for those airlines, and they have business travelers. Those are the customers they want, because the business travelers will normally pay what they have to pay, because you may say, Curtis, you got to be in New York tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And by the time you go to buy your ticket, you're paying the higher price. Mm-hmm. So we've been successful, and we're only been successful because of our customers using our airport over and over again.
Again, you and I have talked about this over the years, and I still believe if I went out on the street with a microphone, the average citizen would understand. You are self-sufficient. You are
Yes.
independent.
Yes.
And so, and I do want you to touch on this today. You know, so many times we're talking about maybe that government is not maybe meeting its expectations of the citizens, or maybe there's not an aggressive actions being taken to look at new things in new ways. But in fact, when you talk about your team, and I know this because you've educated me over the years, and they're out there working. I mean, you are self-sufficient. You are in the marketplace. You are in this competitive, ever-changing industry. So when you, and I'm bringing this up for a reason, that people in this community, I still don't believe a majority understand that you are working 24/7 in this competitive marketplace to keep ILM in the center, if you will, and have opportunities and not go by the wayside and not be forgotten in this crazy world of airports, and especially as a regional airport.
Well, you're right. You know, what we try to do, and all we can do, is we study the statistics. We find out where our passengers want to go. Our passengers, again, are primarily business travelers. They want to travel nonstop. That's another challenge for a small airport. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have access by going through, a hub like Charlotte, but it's another to say, well, give me an airline and fly my passengers nonstop to New York or to Philadelphia or to Atlanta or to D.C. And to Charlotte. And so we have to go out there and compete, and all we can do is to get the service in place, and we have to go and we negotiate. It takes a year and a half by the time you plant a seed to when you get the service to start. We've been working for years, as you know, for the D.C. nonstop. We finally got that. And now all we can do is hope that our passengers will continue to use the airport, because they may be able to get a little cheaper up the road at Raleigh or maybe going down to Myrtle Beach, but every statistic counts to us retaining our air service. I can't emphasize that enough.
You've told me that over the years. That's the number one thing, and it's tough because people are trying to save money, or they need to cut a few bucks here and there. But the bottom line is your most effective tool in bringing us better rates, better service, is in fact the level of participation as far as flyers.
That is correct. It's like anything else. The more business you do, the greater the service will be. And you're not necessarily going to find the least amount for the ticket, but I have to compare, because when I talk to people, they say, well, I saved $100. And where did you go? Well, they go to Raleigh to Myrtle Beach. Well, how much did it cost you? When was your flight? Well, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, okay, did you go up the night before? Well, yes. How much was your hotel room? How much was your fuel? How much was the wear and tear on your vehicle? And then how much is your time worth? And so they come to realize that, and all I say is check us out, and I think you find us to be competitive overall when you take into consideration all of those factors of cost.
We're going to talk about much more when we get back, and I hope you'll stay with us. Our special business spotlight with the airport director of ILM, CEO of ILM, and that's Jon Rosborough. Lots more to talk about here on The Beat.
Wake up, southeastern North Carolina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. Curtis Wright is on The Beat, the new 106.7 My Talker Radio.
We're back live here on The Beat. Again, our special business spotlight is with the airport director, over 16 years, and he'll be leaving us in December. And, of course, it's Jon Rosborough. And, I introduced you as the cheerleader for the airport. But, again, we've been even talking off mic. There are so many variables and components, constantly moving parts that you're dealing with, because it's almost like you're the tail of the dog, and that dog is changing every day. And you've tried to find a way to still give a certain scope and level of service to us here in Wilmington, in the region, I should say. And so it must be tough to, well, first of all, I still don't believe people understand it, but it must be tough for customer satisfaction, because people actually who might be to how the airport is doing don't really know all that you're dealing with. That in some ways, I don't want to use, maybe I shouldn't use this word, but we're lucky to have some things that we have, that only because you've been so vigilant and your staff's been so vigilant in fighting for it. But in fact, at the end of the day, your surveys have come out well. And I mean, I'm telling you, 21, you know this, John, I've told you over the years. I came here, I walked into that airport and went, wow, this is so cool. This is going to be great. Because, again, I was traveling 4 days a week, and it was just first impressions. And I don't care over the years what has happened. My daughter flew a lot back and forth overseas from here, flew different places to see her mom. And so I've always been proud of our airport, and I mean that. It is something for us to be proud of. And the customer service surveys show that people are happy with your service.
That is correct. As a sidebar, one of the things we do at the airport is we meet with a focus group of business leaders on at least quarterly basis and make sure we're meeting their expectations. And if we can't, we tell them why. We keep that open line of communication. Well, then we decided to cascade that down into our standard customer. They're the ones that drive the train, so to speak. And so we hired a professional group out of Hickory, North Carolina, and to do a customer satisfaction survey for us. And we did that at the end of 2013. And overall, they asked a number of questions, but overall they found they were very satisfied with the airport. And there were some highs, and there were some areas that we need to improve upon, because our whole focus is customer service, and that's what we try to do. Though we feel that I'm going to use the word own, but we are responsible for that customer when they turn off 23rd Street onto our airport boulevard till they get into their seat on the plane. All the other times, it is the airport's responsibility to make sure their satisfaction is met. So we had got a survey done, and 96% rated ILM on a willingness to recommend ILM to friends or family. 97% said that, 96% said they would do that. Would you be willing to recommend ILM? And yes, the answer is yes. 99% said it's very easy and very easy to get into the airport from the parking area. 98% says report and easy to get through airport security and screening. And that is huge, because what is the number one problem you hear about? It is getting through the checkpoint, and it's getting my luggage when I get to my destination point. And then 89.9 or 90%, here's what I'm proud of, rated courtesy of the ILM staff above average or outstanding. And they define staff just as Jon Rosborough and our 46 employees. It's everyone, they believe everybody in that terminal reports to me. The airline people when they buy your tickets, to the car rental people, and if we have volunteers there, so they rate everyone. They say you're just so friendly, and that's the culture that we have at the airport, and it's not necessarily.
Like I said, look, I fly in from Los Angeles. I had to fly a couple days prior to that, as always, in from Dallas, and I believe actually before it, if I remember, back in from San Francisco, which wasn't unusual. And then, okay, we're going to make this big leap, and we're finally going to follow up on this map that we put circles on, go to look at a place, possibly our new home. I get off the plane, and not just as an average citizen maybe traveling, that first impression, but as a business person. it was like, wow, this is like landing in somebody's backyard and going into their home for some iced tea.
Yeah.
I'm sincere about that. You know that. You all have worked very hard on that.
Thank you.
And even the aesthetics, with the rocking chairs and the little areas that you can sit, the greeters out front, the way that you're picked up at the curb. And, you know, I know you've done that. I'm just, you know, because I'm involved, I know that that has always, and even post 9/11, you worked, all the staff did very hard under the rules and regulations that were coming down. How can we return to that atmosphere that was so inviting? And think about it. There's tens of thousands of homes that have been sold, businesses that have come here, business people that have retired here, regular citizens, because of that first impression.
Right.
So it's not, it's like your calling card. It's if you can't get them right then and then keep them for you know that, then you're going to lose any credibility for flyers.
You're exactly right, and we get a lot of compliments. We put our information desk in the center of the terminal, and before they're off in the corner, and we make them ambassadors. Now they go out and help people with wheelchairs. They go out on the curb to help people get their luggage out when it's high peaks, and so they work very hard. I would like to say that we had an employee of ours that came up with this idea, and he was hearing from the customers. He said, well, my child is autistic, and so we don't fly. We drive to Florida, or we drive to wherever we're going to go. And so he came up with this idea, and they started a focus group where autistic children and their parents came in, and we gave them a dry run. They went through when the airport wasn't busy, and they came into the airport to see it. Then they put the children through the checkpoint. Then we were able to get a plane that was empty, put them on the plane and seat them in the plane, and then have them come back out. So now we are generating this customer service where autistic children that go through this program can now fly and get them to their destination point a lot quicker.
Great.
And we're doing the same thing now with the dogs. We get people still nervous about flying, so we have dogs that come in and provide that relaxing moment before they get on the plane. So we're, they're called the canine comfort, or comfort canines. It's one of the two newest things that we're doing in terms of enhancing our customer service.
And of all the balls that you all are juggling, as I said, it's sort of me in my mind. I look at you all being the tail that is trying to wag the dog for us here. You're our cheerleaders. You're the ones who are our advocates to try to keep a level of service and a scope of services. You're juggling another ball, and that is the business park. Yeah. And over the years, we've talked about it, but it's actually becoming fruition. It's come to fruition, and you've made some strides. And again, folks need to understand that this is a way to generate an alternate revenue source, which ultimately will reduce costs for flyers, right?
That is correct.
And sustainability, of course, of the airport.
That's right. And also sustainability because of the airlines. The airlines are looking to consistently lower their cost. Their mode of operation now is bottom line management, which most businesses are, but the airlines were not like that in the past, and they've always lost money. And so our airport is run by an airport independent and autonomous airport authority. The county commissioners authorized that. The state attorney general authorized that. What that means is the county did not give up their ownership. They still own the airport, but they appoint the airport authority. As a result of that, the airport does not receive any monies from the taxpayers or the county. And so we have to be operating totally independent and generate our own revenue just for the operating expenses. From the large capital expenditures, we get that through the FAA, which is driven by the number of passengers that fly out of our airport. So one of the things we've done, we can't sell the land or sell the dirt, so we have to lease it, and that is another obstacle. But we're going out there promoting that. We're very fortunate to have the VA clinic come into our airport, and that is a huge success and great success for our community in our region and our wounded warriors, but it also is great for the airport because they lease the land, and that is a revenue generation for us. The airlines are looking to reduce their cost, and they want us at the airport, all airports, just not us, to lower our cost even further. To offset that loss of revenue from the airlines, we have to generate alternative revenue streams, and that's why we're really promoting our business park.
Well, I appreciate your coming today. I know we're out of time. There's so much more to talk about. I do want to say one last thing to our listeners. Over the years, of course, just because I'm on radio or talking about issues in the community, people will call me and say, I've got an issue here, or I've got a question here about the airport. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you were, how much of this has happened, but I tell them, call Jon Rosborough's office because you'll get an answer.
They do.
And,
they do.
You know, folks, I know we have a lot of retired folks that have a lot of questions, new people to the area, business people to the area. That's what I always say. Call Jon Rosborough's office because you'll get an answer. You'll get a response.
That's great. And thank you, Curtis. I appreciate the opportunity. It's good to see you.
Good to see you again. We'll have you back soon. I'm Curtis Wright, on the beat. There's lots more to talk about. Coming up next, Dr. Craig Galbraith, and it's the Economic Times, Part 1, on the beat.